now 7:03. It is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. Welcome to the Kechi City Council meeting. Debbie, would you please call roll?
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
This evening for our invocation, we'll stand for a moment of silence and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to tonight's approval of agenda. First, Council, if you would strike 8B. I want to give thanks to City Attorney Andrew Kovar for correcting my misunderstanding about if a mayor can refuse to sign a check. That has now been resolved. I appreciate that, Andrew. My mistake has been corrected and it won't happen again. So strike 8B, please. In addition, we will have an executive session. And I don't know details.
For the non-elected personnel in the workplace environment.
And time that will be 20 minutes. Okay, with those changes, is there any other changes to the agenda?
I'd like to add in 9C, so we can see the bylaws that are being discussed. We take future action.
9C.
Excuse me. I would like to add 9E, the park board bylaw. I'd like us to look at those.
Anything else? Okay, I would entertain a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as written with exceptions of striking item 7B.
It's okay.
I don't know. Sorry. I apologize. I'm striking item 8B and adding 9E for the park board bylaw.
As well as executive session.
In the executive session for non-elected personnel.
Second. Motion by Council President Hedstrom, second by Council Member Baldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the approval of consent agenda. Council, is there any items that need to be pulled? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move we approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Council President Hedstrom, second by Council Member Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the communications section. Do we have any Kechi civic groups or committees here tonight to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to community announcements. This evening, I am pleased to welcome Gil Alvarez, the Deputy Superintendent from USD 259, who has come to present information about the upcoming bond issue this fall. Thank you. Welcome, Gil.
Good evening and thank you. Thank you, Mayor Harris, members of the board, the community of Kechi. I'm truly excited to be here to share a little bit about our bond issue, Wichita Public Schools bond issue that's on the ballot for November 3rd of 2026. My name is Gil Alvarez, proud Deputy Superintendent of the Wichita Public Schools. I'm not only Deputy Superintendent, but I'm also a parent. They call me a girl dad. I have 4 beautiful girls, parent of the Wichita Public Schools. One of my daughters is middle school, another daughter is in high school, and I have 2 that graduated. Matter of fact, one of my graduates is a current graduate of the class of 2026. And the interesting fact about that, or ironically, is she was born in 2008, and that was the year that our last bond issue was passed, 18 years ago. So I do want to say thank you to everyone who supported the bond back in 2008. We had over 3,000 graduates, our graduation rate of 85.1%. Of those 3,000 graduates that crossed the stage benefited from the thought and the future of student success back in 2008, including my own daughters. Thank you so much. She is attending K-State. Give me K-State. But I'm a house divided. My oldest daughter, she's at KU. So either way.
We're sorry.
I heard some sorries. It's all good. My goal today is simple: to provide clear factual information so we can all have a shared understanding of what is being processed and why, or what is being proposed and why. This bond plan reflects a thoughtful balance of community input, district needs, and long-term planning. Ultimately, this is about continuing a legacy, ensuring that opportunities we provide today prepare our students for tomorrow. By the end of the presentation, I hope you will understand why Wichita Public Schools is placing a bond proposal before the voters, what projects are included, how the proposal is structured into 2-question ballot, and what the tax implications are. I also want to share what this means for our greater Wichita community and show you where to find additional information if you're interested in more information around the bond issue. WPS is the largest school district in Kansas, serving more than 45,000 students. So I want to put that in perspective. 45,000 students. We are the size, or close to the size of Salina, Kansas, if you think of just our students. If you add in our 8,000 part-time, full-time staff, we are closer to the size of Manhattan, Kansas. Considering my daughter going to K-State, so I have to throw that in there. We educate about 10% of the students in the state of Kansas. That's 10%. So a lot of the growth, where I told you a little bit about our graduation rate being 85.1, which is the highest graduation rate that USD 259 has had. When we go up, the state goes up because we serve that 10% of the students in the state of Kansas. We also serve and educate half of the students in Sedgwick County as well. Before discussing the proposal itself, it's important to understand what is a bond issue and how school funding works in Kansas. First, a bond is like a mortgage. It is debt that is issued for large-scale facility improvements or projects. The debt is repaid over time by our residents through taxes. Unlike cities and counties, however, school districts cannot issue bonds independently. Our school board does not have the authority to issue this debt themselves. Kansas law requires school districts to place bond proposals before voters for approval. Second, Kansas school finance is designed to support daily operations, including salaries, utilities, curriculum, instruction, and educational programs. It is not intended to fund major construction projects or significant facility improvements. So when we talk about this bond proposal, we're talking about improving the physical spaces where students learn and teachers teach. Bond funds can be used for projects such as new buildings, major renovations, and infrastructure improvements, but they cannot be used to pay salaries or cover operating expenses. So to be clear, bond funds cannot pay for operational expenses, and school districts are required by state law to take bond issues to the voters. And I share that up, and I put a little emphasis on it because that's one of the biggest questions we get from our communities is why aren't we spending bond funds to help fund teacher salaries, programs, utilities, and so on. It just cannot be done, and we follow the state law. This bond matters because strong schools help build strong communities. Even for residents who do not currently have children in the Wichita Public Schools, the quality of our schools plays an important role in Wichita's future. Today's students I don't want to just say Wichita's future, so I'm here at Kechi. It also helps Kechi, the community's future. It helps Park City's future, as well as Bel Air as well. So we understand and know that there's other communities that help and that we serve as well. Today's students are tomorrow's workforce, business leaders, community leaders. Wichita Public Schools educates approximately 10%, as I said before, of all students in Kansas. So the success of our students directly affects the future success of Wichita, Kechi, Park City, Bel Air, and our state. This bond invests in facilities that support modern learning, technology, workforce preparation. It creates updated and efficient learning environments designed to prepare students for college, careers, and life after graduation. Community feedback consistently shows strong support for career training opportunities. This proposal aligns educational opportunities with both community priorities and workforce needs. The proposal was shaped directly by both district staff and community feedback and includes 2 questions that will appear on the November 3rd ballot. Throughout the planning process, community members consistently emphasize the need for a balanced approach, one that addresses critical facilities needs while remaining mindful of costs and the tax burden. The projects focus on 4 major areas. Number 1, bond projects provide future-ready opportunities that ensure every student has access to the learning environments that prepare them for college careers and life beyond graduation. It expands career pathways, hands-on learning experiences, and modern instructional spaces aligned to workforce needs. 2, it modernizes and improves teaching and learning environments so students and staff can learn and work in safe, flexible, and updated facilities that support today's instructional needs and practices. 3, the projects improve the daily experience for students and staff while increasing operational efficiency and reducing long-term maintenance costs. And finally, the proposal preserves Wichita's oldest and historic high schools, recognizing their important role in our community's identity while ensuring they continue serving future generations. So let's get into the actual projects themselves. You can see on the screen, this is question 1. So this is a question 1 overview. Question 1 focuses on the district's highest priority needs. The projects included in question 1 align closely with community priorities regarding aging facilities and learning conditions. They address critical needs while also reflecting strong community support. Most importantly, question 1 is designed to be a no tax rate increase. So if approved, it would continue the current tax rate rather than increase it. In other words, taxpayers would continue paying the same rate that they are paying today. So let's look at these projects in particular. So when you see on the screen, you'll see a list of projects under question 1. The first one being the Future Ready Center for Trades. This is an additional Future Ready Center. We currently have 3, one for our aviation manufacturing. We have one for healthcare or biomed, that students can get credentials and certifications in CNA, phlebotomy, a lot of different opportunities for students to get a credential or certification. And we have one for computer science and cybersecurity. This would be an additional one that's going to be on the campus at East High School, where all students from all over our district can take advantage of any trade, things like construction trade. It could be HVAC, plumbing, electrician. So a lot of opportunities that we will have with a new Future Ready Center for Trades. The next one is rebuild Truesdale Middle School. We know right now Truesdale Middle School has some structural damage, so it's going to be important that Truesdale, because if it doesn't pass, we're going to put in and invest a lot of funds to get that shored up as well. We're going to rebuild Black Elementary, a traditional magnet elementary, and that site, that elementary, will host students from OK Elementary. That's one of our schools that will be closing, as well as Woodland, which is another school that's closing. So those students will be going to a new school. Rebuilt Chisholm Trail Elementary School from an elementary pre-K-5 to a pre-K-8. And I'll come back to that. I'll spend a little bit more time knowing that Kechi community has students that go to that school in particular. We're going to add a school wing onto Cessna Elementary School. That's on the south side of town, and that will become a K-8, and it will relieve some of the middle school, because we had a high population at Truesdale Middle School, and that will reduce the amount or the enrollment at Truesdale to relieve it a little bit. to put some students at Cessna. North High, East High, preservation, and then improve traffic flow at select elementaries and K-8 schools. And those 3 schools that we're going to really focus on, Crystal McAuliffe Academy, which we've had some major problems, Seltzer Elementary, and Isley, which is another school that I know students and families here in the Kechi community go to. And then the last one is HVAC and PE and other learning spaces. So there'll be 11 middle schools that will have their PE classrooms, the gyms have air conditioning. We will have 5 high schools where their second gyms will have air conditioning, and one of our Future Ready Center, the one that's by North High, the manufacturing center, will also get air conditioning in that working area. They have it in the classroom, they just don't have it on the shop floor in particular. If you've been to any events, if you're a spectator at any of our middle school or even some of the second gyms, in the fall in particular, it's extremely hot. And some of our students, we get complaints every single year from staff, students, and parents that say it's really too hot for our students to be in those particular spaces. So we're looking forward to those spaces to have air conditioning as well. So let me go back to Chisholm Trail, talk a little bit about that particular school. It's 72 years old, built in 1954, 1955. It was probably built in 54 and started in 55. A lot of history even before that with the Kechi Center and so on as it was growing. And student population is around 360 to 380 students currently at that particular school. But we know that Kechi, in a lot of our schools, Chisholm Trail Heights, Stuckey, Isley, and Earhart, have probably the highest enrollment from Kechi community, even though there's other schools, because we have other magnet schools too, that Kechi residents and families and students take advantage of as well. So we are planning to build a new Chisholm Trail Elementary, turn it in from a pre-K 5 to a pre-K 8. So it would be, so students will go there for their elementary years as well as middle school. We are looking at around the quadrants of our city to add more K-8s because that transition, especially from 5th to 6th grade, is a crucial one. We know that we lose some students too going from 5th to 6th. So we find that our K-8s have more of a family feel as they continue to go through, because you know the system, you know the administrators, you know the teachers, you know the culture. So we believe a K-8 in that particular area. And we also know there's a lot of growth in Park City that is happening as well. So we know this is going to be a great advantage for not only the Kechi community, but Park City community, which will benefit the Wichita Public Schools as well. The location for that site, we have not finalized yet where it's going to be. However, we're exploring the southwest corner of 61st Street and Hillside, probably just east of the Park City downtown development. I think they have a library there, the senior center, so it's right there to the east is where that would be. Moving on now to question 2. This builds upon the investments included in question 1. It adds additional school rebuilds, expanded early childhood access, and additional career and technical education improvements. These projects reflect community interest in future-ready learning and expanded opportunities for students. It is important to emphasize these projects do not represent every single facility need across our district. Instead, they reflect a balanced approach between need, priority, and community support. So it's important to note that question 2 cannot pass unless question 1 passes. So it cannot pass on its own, and that's another key education or training, trying to get community to understand. Question 1 has to pass. We just go back to question 1. So that has to pass in order for question 2. When you go to the ballot, if somebody votes no to question 1 and yes to question 2, it's not, none of it's going to pass. So question 1 has to pass in order for question 2 to pass. This structure gives voters flexibility by allowing them to first support the tax neutral investment and then decide whether they also want to add additional investment. So let's look at now the projects for question 2. Starting at the top, this one helps with efficiency. This is renovating the former middle school. It was closed down on our previous school closures, Hadley Middle School. So our Horseman dual language magnet, currently around 13th and Market, they will move to the Hadley Middle School. We'll do some renovations to prepare for that. They're one of our biggest wait lists of schools for dual language for our magnets. This will allow us to expand our dual language magnet and have access to that particular magnet for our families that really want to get in to that dual language. When they moved to when they moved to Hadley, that school itself in 2008 was a new school. So we're going to repurpose that school by putting one of our older schools, Irving Elementary, right down the street and move them to Horace Mann to take advantage. And since they're just a K-8, they're just a K-5, Irving, not a K-8 like Horace Mann, they can now move into an elementary, because that building was built for an elementary K-8, it's in K-5. So that will be an advantage for us, putting those students and families into a newer building as well. We're going to look to renovate and repurpose our OK Elementary building to consolidate all of our early childhood services. So our Little Early Childhood Center, Parents as Teachers, Early Childhood Outcomes Team, and any support of early childhood will be moved to OK Elementary. This will allow us then to consolidate certain buildings. And so we don't have a portfolio of 83 total buildings that we're trying to serve. Now we do have a decline in enrollment. Because of that decline in enrollment, it's important for us to be efficient and reduce our total building portfolio as well. So by that consolidation, we can close some of the buildings that are currently open that are in the support role to early childhood. Now we have a welcoming center for all early childhood education as well. So that will benefit us. Improvements of CTE spaces at South, Northwest, Heights, and West. And I'll come back to Heights. We're also going to look at rebuilding Coleman Middle School, renovate and repurpose existing buildings. So we're going to build a new school to the north of the old Coleman Middle School for their environmental magnet theme. And we're going to repurpose and reuse the old Coleman to consolidate our alternative programs. Currently, right now, we have 3 programs at 3 different sites. Gateway program, we have our Education Imagine Academy program, which is our virtual program, and our Chester Lewis Alternative program. Them being at 3 different sites, we have to keep repairing, maintaining those buildings as well. We consolidate them to the old Coleman Middle School under one roof, and we're saving and being more efficient by reducing our building portfolio as well. Next one is rebuilding Adams Elementary and then preserving work at the high schools that are 50 to 70 years old, which does include Heights. So let's talk about Heights for a little bit. First, those 50 to 70-year-olds include West High School, South, Heights, and Northwest. It's hard to believe that Northwest, they're about 48, close to 50 years old already. It still seems kind of new. I used to be principal there, so every time I see it, it looks like one of our new ones, but they have some. We had to do a major pool renovation that they had as well for our swimmers in our PE classes. So at those schools, we're looking at having minor structural repairs that should be addressed now. This includes some roof repairs, brick restoration, drainage, or grading work and foundation work. At Heights in particular, they have a great welding program, so we're looking at improving the woodworking and welding program spaces that would be expanded and renovated with updated paint booths and their HVAC. This project also focused on safety improvements, which include updates for intercom systems, lighting, and storm shelter vestibule doors. The existing HVAC system will also be optimized to improve comfort throughout the building at Heights. They also have an auditorium. Haven't really talked to architects yet to figure out if they're going to use the old auditorium to put that expansion or not, or if they're going to do something else to allow for a better usable space in the old auditorium. So it's not just a huge open space being used for a detention room or just there for nothing, or possible events, I'm sure, but we'd love to use that space during the day. One of the most common questions we also received during our listening sessions and surveys was about cost. If only question 1 passes, there would be no increase to the current tax rate because it extends the financing already being collected today. If both questions pass, the estimated additional cost for an owner of a $200,000 home would be about $50 per year. That works out to be just over $4 per month. And on the screen, you'll see some examples of items on the screen that cost between $4 to $5. I'm just showing that just to give people an understanding of monthly how that would look if you own a $200,000 home. Depending on what type of laundry detergent, some of you are thinking Really? $4 or $5? Coffee, if you just get it black, and then that'll be $4 or $5. But if you love going to Starbucks, that will be a different story. A gallon of milk, a 6-inch sub, or some chips. And our students love those Taki chips, so just pretending that is one of those. And we're not saying to sacrifice any of those things. We're just giving you an idea to correlate what that cost would be. Because some are thinking an increase. When they're thinking about investing, they want to know how much that would cost them per year. There is a handout for all of you guys as well. And at the bottom right corner, if $200,000 home doesn't fit, that's just the median home value that we use in Wichita. There's also a $75,000 example, a $100,000 example, 200, 300, and 400. So there's some different opportunities so people can really see. We want to be as transparent as possible with that as well. Wichita Public Schools currently operates 83 buildings. 57 of those buildings, which is over half, are at least 60 years old. So over half of our buildings are 60 years old, with an average age of 78 years old. As buildings move into the 60 to 70 year range, major systems begin failing more frequently and repair costs increase significantly. While we also have 26 buildings under 60 years old, with an average age of 26 years, we lack balance between newer and older facilities across the district. We're on the higher side of the older buildings. 2 of those buildings are reaching 100 or over 100, East High, North High. We also have some elementaries that are already at 100 years old. As our facilities age, maintenance costs increase, which can consume operational funds that could otherwise support teaching and learning. So at the end of the 24-25 fiscal year, we set aside an additional $17 million to address aging facilities. Those are funds that could otherwise support classrooms and student learning. A bond allows us to address major facility needs separately and preserve the operational funding for students and teachers. This proposal is not just about buildings, it's about protecting resources that directly support learning. For students and staff, a bond means more operational dollars can remain focused on instruction to increase student achievement, and we are proud of our student achievement currently in our elementaries. Every one of our elementaries, we look at our formative assessment that we have, are improving our word recognition and improvement since the pandemic as well. So we're excited about that, not just our graduation rates. So we remain focused on instruction to increase student achievement rather than emergency building repairs. So as stated previously, this proposal improves learning environments, expands career and technical education opportunities, and creates educational spaces across the district. Even schools that are not directly included in the bond projects that I shared with you previously, they will benefit because capital funds can be distributed more effectively. So those other buildings and the bond projects will be taken care of from the bond funds, whereas we'll take the pot of the other funds for minor improvement and spread that more around our other buildings, so all buildings will benefit. This proposal is about more than school buildings. It is also an investment in the greater Wichita community's future. Strong schools help develop a skilled workforce, support economic growth, and protect property values. The quality of our educational system has a direct impact on the long-term strength and vitality of our community. By investing in facilities today, we are helping ensure Wichita remains strong and competitive for years to come. This proposal is the result of extensive community engagement that began in 2023. That's when Kelly Bielefeld, our current superintendent, came and brought a group together to start talking about our strategic plan, vision, mission and vision, our core beliefs, and those kind of things. And through that process, we did demography studies, boundary studies, a lot of things to help shape the future and create our facilities master plan. Throughout the process, we gathered feedback through surveys, meetings, focus groups, advisory groups, and ongoing conversations with staff, families, and community members. That feedback helped shape both the project list and the overall structure of the bond proposal that I shared with you. One challenge, however, in a district our size is that feedback is often conflicting. I'm sure you guys probably see some of that as well. Different groups have different priorities, different opinions, and our responsibility is to find solutions that our community can support and align with the greatest needs while maintaining focus on our students and staff. For anyone interested in learning more, the bond website on your screen, it is www.wpsbond.org, offers detailed bond and project information, frequently asked questions, upcoming engagement opportunities, and the full bond resolution. I will say we are updating this bond website daily for any new opportunities, and soon after our next board meeting, we're going to be putting one-pagers on this particular site that will show you all the projects for every school in our district. So any parent in Kechi that wants to see what their school is going to be getting, whether it's on the bond project side or the 5-year capital improvement plan, they'll be able to see those projects. We're excited about that when it comes out. Community members can also determine whether they live within the voting boundaries, find voter registration information, and review the 2 ballot questions in its entirety, so you know what you're going to see when you go to the ballot on November 3rd. You can actually see it before you go. We encourage everyone to review the information, ask questions, and become as informed as possible before the November 3rd, 2026 bond election. As we move forward, our commitment remains the same, providing clear information and communication, maintaining transparency, and encouraging thoughtful engagement. We encourage everyone to stay informed, continue asking questions, and participate in the process by voting before or on November 3rd. We also invite all community members that are interested in learning more to attend our Summer Tour Tuesday school visit engagement events. We're having engagement events going on all summer, every Tuesday at 4:30, where you can visit different schools. Some are the schools that are in need. Some of the other schools are schools that we hope that we can provide for other students across our district. Our next tour is next Tuesday, which is July 14th, is at Northwest High School. And the one after that is at Adams Elementary on July 21st. There's 2 more even after that. All that information is on the bond website. Thank you for your time and your interest in shaping the future of the Wichita Public Schools for our students, for our schools, and for our community. That concludes my presentation, so now I'm open for any comments or questions that you may have at this time.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Alvarez?
You had mentioned that the Chisholm Trail, that one possibility was southwest corner of 61st and Hillside. Is there other areas being considered?
I think that is the one that we currently have. I think there was an opportunity for the purchase of land or a land swap where our current Chisholm Trail is, and swapping it for land at that particular area. So we're just exploring that to see if that works, but that's the one we're looking at.
Anyone else? I do have, before you go, I have a question for our Public Works Director, Thomas Bevan. That's Sedgwick County property. It's not in any city. What they're talking about, the southwest corner, is that correct?
Correct.
What utility, who serves the utilities that would be at that school? Do you know?
Currently, the water on that area, and well, on the house that used to be on that property was Kechi water.
Okay. So there's a potential that could be utilities that end up being serviced by the city of Kechi. Yes. Mr. Alvarez, thank you so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I wanted to get information out to our community so that they had a better understanding of the bond that's coming up to be considered. So thank you so much for your time and for coming tonight.
And thank you all for your time. I'm grateful for the time to share with you today. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
And council, that is one of the reasons that I did ask Mr. Alvarez to come as well, is so that there is an understanding that if the bond passes, that could impact our utilities with the city of Kechi, and for us all to keep that in mind as we discuss utility infrastructure, capital improvements going forward. Okay, does any other council member have any announcements that they would like to make tonight? You do? Go ahead. Oh, you do not. Okay, I have a few to go through. The Kechi Arts Council is sponsoring an art supply and entertainment donation drive for the month of July for the Wichita Children's Home. You can drop off your donation at the box at Jumpstart and bless children who need some extra support. Thank you for your consideration. The Kechi Playhouse opens their new play, Noir Comedy, on Friday, July 10th at 8 p.m. This night only, tickets are only $10 at the door and supports the Kechi Arts Council. Come see what's up with a mystical saint, a mysterious curse, and a missing relic that create trouble for a down-on-his-luck detective working hard to stump along. Can't make it that night? The show runs through August 2nd, Friday and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. or a Sunday matinee at 2:30. You can reserve your tickets by calling 744-2152 for all other shows. The brush site is open July 11th from 8 to noon. On Thursdays, the place to be is at the Kechi Farmers Market from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Location is the Kechi United Methodist Church parking lot. Come shop local, eat local, and connect with locals. Interested in serving on the Kechi Park Board? There is a vacancy. Please contact Mayor Joni Harris at 316-633-9604 or jharris@kechiks.gov. Let her know why you'd like to serve and what you enjoy most about our Kechi community. Tuesday evening community dinners continue at the Kechi United Methodist Church from 5:30 to 7:30. Enjoy a meal provided at no cost and connect with your neighbors or meet someone new. The Great Sunnydale Pig Out is scheduled for Saturday, July 18th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. This is a fundraising event to support the Sunnydale Community Building located at 10202 North Hillside. The menu is mouth-watering slow-smoked hog, potato salad, baked beans, smoked all day long, chips, hot water, and a delicious dessert. The cost is adults $7.50 a plate, children 8 and under are $5 a plate. And they invite everyone to come together, enjoy some incredible barbecue, and support the building that brings us all together in the Sunnydale area. To-go plates will also be available if you can't stay and hang out for a bit. A reminder that primary election day is August 4th. There is voting for partisan primary candidates, plus a constitutional amendment regarding how Kansas Supreme Court justices are selected. There will be a separate ballot available to vote on this amendment for those who are not registered with the Democrat or Republican Party. So make sure you get out and vote on August 4th. Put it on your calendar, please. Okay, we will move on. Is there any addressing of previous public comments? Seeing none? Debbie, do we have anyone signed up for public comment tonight?
Debbie? I'll need for you to state your last name, please.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Debbie Jacobs. So, Mayor Harris, do not take this as an attack, but I would like to address some things. Mayor Harris being part of City Council, whether it's being a mayor or a City Council member, is a privilege of keeping the community front and foremost, not for personal gain. Every month when I read the Kechi Lamp, it seems there's at least one article with issues you have with either an employee or a full department. But your biggest issue appears to be with the police department, and particularly Chief Moore. I would like you to ask yourself, is this a personal issue or a community issue that you have? From what I've heard, the community as a whole supports the chief and what he does. It's rumored that your issues are Facebook posts, but I want to know if you paid attention to the comments or listened to what the majority says about the posts. The biggest percentage of the comments are grateful to have a department that cares about their safety. It's encouraging that they have the dedication to care that much about who they are paid to protect. I know quite a few people who follow the Kechi Police Department on Facebook and enjoy the posts. Yes, they think it's a humorous way to get people's attention while letting the public know that crime is not tolerated. If there are any comments, they are answered by Chief Moore, which to me states that he only wants the facts out there or as many facts as he can give depending on the case. I believe it's safe to assume that you do not have family members in law enforcement to even attempt to understand what they may see daily. How heartbreaking it is to respond to a fatality accident or a child endangerment or a removal call, and then you have to put all your emotions aside to investigate it. They may have had something along that line happen before you have a meeting with them, so they may be a little bit testy because their emotions are a wreck. The movie night is a terrific way to engage the citizens, but most importantly, the children, and let them know that police officers are kind and compassionate. This is our next generation that may grow up with respect towards police officers instead of contempt. Kechi has a strong police department that you should be proud of, and I hate to think that morale could be brought down due to lack of support by an elected official. I remember when there was just a one-cop shop, for lack of better words here. And it's taken roughly 25 years to get a police department that's as solid and cares about the community like your current one. Kechi also has a solid administration and public works department that should not be overlooked. It's a bit embarrassing that a whole article was written about you attempting to create a fragrance policy to ban candles, scented waxes, perfumes for employees. Yes, I have sensitivity to fragrances, but I also realize it's a unique way for someone to express themselves, and that there's a kinder way to ask people to remove things. So my final question to you is, why did you run for mayor? For personal gain or actually for the community? But preferably, do some soul searching while you think about the answer to this question, as I think people would prefer a well thought out answer instead of one that is just quick and off the cuff. Thank you for your time. And yes, I do know how hard it is to do this here. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your comments. I do actually read the posts as well as the comments, so I am listening to what the community is saying. And I will leave it at that, and I will take your advice and spend some time and respond publicly at a later date. So thank you very much for coming and sharing tonight. I appreciate it. Debbie.
Sarah McMillan. Hi, Sarah McMillan. I did Photos for Vera.
Welcome, Sarah.
I know I was at the park board meeting on Monday, and I know we were really close to not having quorum. And so I was just wondering, I know we keep having those public announcements that have people apply. Has anyone stepped forward or asked to be on the park board yet?
No, actually, no one has actually stepped forward to ask directly.
Okay, so no one.
That's not accurate.
They have not stepped forward to ask
Karen, we
directly.
decided-
Okay.
No, that was-
She would like to serve.
That was Council President Hedstrom. I had zero contact directly from Karen. It was through a third-party source. So I've had no direct contact. I'm answering Sarah's question as she asked it.
So her application, she was a city representative on the board prior.
She was.
He was a council member.
Yes, she was.
Is there a reason that she wouldn't have been qualified or appropriate?
I have reasons why I have stated. I have responded to the person who put forward her nomination.
Has there been any other person or opportunity by chance?
Not at this time.
Is there something that would be helpful for the public to know that you are looking for them and a candidate to fill that seat?
I stated it earlier and was to reach out and to share with me.
Well, what type of qualifications then are you looking for? Just that they contact you directly then?
No, I stated it in the community announcements to share why I'd like to be on the park board and what do they most enjoy about our Kechi community.
Are there things though that, I guess what I'm asking is what would make it where a person would not be a good fit to fill that role, position that you already know or that you.
I am open to having discussion with anyone that would like to apply.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I also just wanted to say about the bond issue. My son had the opportunity to play for Heights football, and it was an amazing experience. I know they didn't have a great record, but the thing that stood out to me the most was the coaches. Their main priority was not football. It was to build outstanding young men that can go out into the community and be positive influences. It was really exciting to see how many had high GPAs and that received amazing college scholarships and are only going to college because of that opportunity and those coaches that supported us. So
That's awesome.
love the school.
That's awesome.
So right to hit the nail on the head.
Thank you. Debbie. Okay, we will close public comment and move on to unfinished 8A playground project updates. City Administrator Jensby.
Mayor and Council, I don't have a lot to update since last time. We had a park board meeting on Monday, and information was presented by different volunteers of the park committee. We're currently at about 78% of our fundraising efforts on the project. I think it's important to note that the police department has a car show coming up July 25th, a Kechi community car show. They've called it Cops and Robbers, not Cops and Robbers, Cops and Robbers. It is going to be over here, I believe, at the Methodist Church, and they've had a great response to it, a lot of donations, and Chief just informed me this week that all proceeds from the car show will go directly to the park playground.
Awesome. Awesome.
We're currently working with PEC on core samples. We're waiting on a scope of services estimate from them. As soon as we get that estimate as to how much it will cost for core samples, I'm hoping we can go ahead and move forward with that. They will get core samples, tell us if the location of the current playground is suitable to rehab or if we need to move it somewhere else. So as soon as we get that, I will bring that back to council and let you know the timeline. That's all I have for the playground.
Thank you. Moving on to new business, 9A, revenue neutral rate resolution.
Mayor and Council, this item comes before you. It's very similar to what we've done the last couple years. Each year, the city needs to notify the county clerk if we intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate. The revenue neutral rate for the city this year was provided to us by the county. It is 35.268 mils. Currently, our mill levy is 36.667, if I'm correct. It is staff's intent to reduce the mill levy anytime we look at the budget. That is our goal every year, is to only levy the needed funds that the city needs to operate and provide services to the city. This year, we feel at this point, and it is our goal, we've been tasked by Councilmember Hedstrom to see if we can maintain the lowest mill levy possible. And we feel that at this time, we can meet that revenue rate of 35. With that said, because we are not all the way through the budget process, we may have to go above that, okay? So this revenue neutral rate resolution allows us to notify the county clerk that we could go above the revenue neutral rate. We do not have any intent, but being responsible in budgeting, we build in those safeguards in case anything should happen. So this is the same thing we do every year. We always notify them that we will exceed the revenue neutral rate. Last year, we maintained the flat mill levy. The year before, we maintained the flat mill levy. So just a safeguard for budgeting purposes, but a very important step in the budget process that has to be done. Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't.
Okay, before I open this up for council questions, I have a mayoral statement that I would like to make regarding the revenue neutral resolution. I support revenue neutral or reducing the mill levy. I do have concerns about activity engaged in by City Administrator Jensby and Council President Hedstrom, who had private conversations to determine budget recommendations for the council. Why was the entire governing body not included in budget discussions? And why were discussions not held in open public meetings? Why did the full council not participate in giving guidance to city staff regarding what they desired to see, but only Council President Hedstrom? From the June 25th, 2026 budget workshop, beginning at timestamp 4:32 to 5:10, City Administrator Jensby, quote, "In preparation of a lot of this budget material, I had a lot of conversation with Councilmember Hedstrom, and one of the things that he requested was that we really focus on seeing what we can do to reduce the mill levy for the 2027 budget. So through my discussions with him, my discussions with Matt Lawn, Matt did a majority of the work on this, all the heavy lifting, but I think as you'll see in the presentation here, you're going to be very happy with the results that we came up with and the possible recommendation we have for the council. Matt Lawn later states that, quote, the grunt work of putting the budget together is essentially done, end quote. City Administrator Gentry also shares, quote, we have a very, for the most part, straightforward budget this year. We don't have any big projects that are going on. Budget-wise, it's a pretty simple budget, quote. The summary for Resolution 26 submitted to the City Council by City Administrator Gentry includes, quote, the budget proposed by the governing body of Kechi, quote, and quote, it is the desire of the council, quote. These statements don't necessarily reflect complete accuracy for the governing body. We have seen a high-level overview of the recommended budget, and tonight we got to see line by line broken down for the utility funds, which I'm very, very thankful for. But we have yet to hear the 2027 request by department, full line-by-line examinations yet, which we have been told that they will be coming, a lack of governing body input regarding CIP, reviewing annual spending, budget adjustments that may need to be made, future forecasting, the impact of water sewer master plan phases discussion, which I just requested a PEC and the city administrator at the end of March of 2026, potential natural gas system expansion and that impact. Thankfully, we have a presentation tonight. The Community Action Plan Phase 2, which is our strategic plan, the contract has not yet been discussed. Consideration of a future new public works facility and more. Therefore, how does council vote on something like intent to exceed revenue neutral rate for a proposed budget with little to no discussion, no specific information shared for consideration, and therefore know how to move forward? For me, focusing on policy and procedure, this is highly concerning. As a citizen in 2023, I was engaged with the budget process with the city's former city administrator and listened to multiple workshops and council meeting conversations. The first this council saw or heard about the 2027 proposed budget was at the June 25th workshop. It was approximately a 30-minute presentation and conversation. What are the details of these results referenced? You'll be very happy. What are the details of the budget recommendation for council? The governing body should be giving guidance to city staff regarding what they desire in the 2027 budget preparations, determining the budget for each department and considering requests. To review spending, to review the approved 2026 budget, spending that has occurred thus far, projected actuals, broken down by department and funds. While the city administrator and council president can make a recommendation, our reality is that no details are actually known except for what was presented tonight and the overview we were given. I do hope the governing body has opportunity to engage in these conversations going forward in the budget process. Yes, the council will move forward in decision-making tonight as required by law. With the statement that it's a pretty simple budget, it should not be burdensome for city staff nor the city's financial consultant to provide line by line departmental and fund details for this governing body to review in this budget process. Matt Long did state tonight that he is working to present that to us as we go forward. So I am requesting that we do have this information during this process and ongoing, and if we need to schedule additional workshops, that they will be done so. And it is concerning that as a governing body, we have had no discussion regarding components of the budget. So this concludes my comments regarding the process that we've experienced thus far, and I open up any conversation to council that they have on the resolution before us.
Well, just to very simply address your first, you're considering that an ethical conversation that you usually do, but it was a very simple conversation. I called Matt and said, do you think there's any way with the streets being paid off, do you think there's any way we can get to a revenue neutral budget this year? Because people are really struggling with property tax, and it's one of those things that we just see the evaluations going up every year. And that was we made no decisions. All the budget workshops are still going on. We're still seeing all the detailed and Matt presented tonight. So if me as a council member talking to the city administrator and asking him, hey, is there any way we can put together a revenue neutral budget this year? If that's unethical, I think we need to have a discussion. What's unethical? Because
I agree.
every other meeting, she's got me and him of doing something unethical.
I'd be guilty of having conversations with Jim as well.
I have not.
I have not. So he stated, I mean, it's his words. He said he had a lot of conversation with you. So am I supposed to know something otherwise? Those were his words. So I'm just stating those were his words.
Yes, we probably talked about it more than once.
Yeah, I think that it's the normal course of duty in any city that the city administrator or city manager has conversations with council members and staff. Council members call me, they ask me questions, we have discussions. We'll meet for coffee, we'll meet for lunch. It's the normal course of duty for a city to do that. Those are conversations that have to be had to push city business forward. My job as the city administrator is to carry forward the will of the council as a whole. And part of that is having those individual conversations to make sure I'm clear on what direction I have. Everybody has a little different view of that direction. So it's the normal course of duty for me to have conversations with individual council members.
Well, historically, budget meetings are normally done as a whole council so that you have interactive conversation that is occurring as you discuss the budget going forward.
And
You mean like the one we had tonight?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I do have a question. Based on what was presented last week, at the last meeting on the 25th, we were presented with R&R mill levy scenario with a revenue neutral rate, with a zero revenue neutral rate. So, and it was 35.268. And looking at the expenses, it is 25% higher than what the expenses were from the 2026 estimate. It also has a recommended fund balance that is 32% less than what we had prior. So I question if we need to do a revenue exceed the revenue neutral rate if currently it's 25% higher than what it already is and what our 2026. If we did the revenue, if we did a flat mill levy where we stayed at the 36.79, that gives us a 27% increase. So I know that we haven't seen the whole budget, but when I'm looking at the part that's the general fund, because that's what the mill levy goes to support is the general fund, and we're already increasing at 25%. I wish I understood where that 25% increase was coming from.
from increased assessed valuation.
No, that's not what it's, so what Matt presented to us was if we keep a mill levy, if we keep the revenue neutral rate mill levy, which would be going down, which would be the 35.268. So our increase in spending in expenses is 25% higher than what the increase was or from 2026. So in 2026, and these are right off of what he presented us last week, in 2026, the estimate was $2,749,970 from the general fund. The 2027 forecast is $3,439,830. And that revenue forecast comes from the 25.268. So if That's where my concern is. If we jump to 36.790, it was a 27% increase, and we were not presented with information that would be at the recommended mill rate of 38.791. That was not information we were presented last month.
That is one question I have is, I'm assuming there's put two bills in here for, and we know the intent and what we discussed last meeting.
Just for Patty. Yeah, it is our intent, just as it was last year and the year before, to bring you the lowest budget possible. The past 2 years that I've been here, we have always notified the county clerk of a increased mill levy to provide that safeguard for our budgeting process, and we have always met what we had told you it would be.
And I know prior to that, when we had a mill increase over the revenue neutral rate, we were also presented with information on where that money would go and what it would be used for, so that it was almost or truly planning and saying, if we did this, this is where that money would go, because that was the year we had the water and sewer master plan originally presented to us. And we had it where it said, this is where, and I know that that's a sore subject, I'm not, but I'm saying,
It
when
was also 11 mills. and
it
was a
was.
disaster.
It's
a different,
but it was saying, this is where that money would go. We have nothing to say, if we do this, and granted we can, and we don't have to, but we have no information that says, if we went to 38.791, how much money is that, and what would we do with it?
And we don't intend to go there.
it is a different philosophy of presenting 3879. It's 2 mills of buffer. We do not, I don't think any of us have, yes, this is how we would want to spend it, because we have no intent of actually moving up to that rate. It's insurance just in case something happens, which is what we talked about last meeting.
And I will agree with that, but I will also say that at this point of the game, we should have had a better picture. I asked for information starting in January. We had our first budget workshop in June. And I think that over the past several years, we've gotten pushed farther and farther behind on WIN information. And I also had asked if we would have our audit report prior to budget information, and we have not had that. So we don't know what our picture was from 2025, how that audit panned out. So those are some of my concerns heading into this.
One of the reasons that I contacted Administrator Gentry and asking questions is because as issues come up, and I'm not speaking directly to the budget issue, but various different issues, and I have questions about them, I address them so that I have a better understanding of what's going on, so that we're not doing 4-hour council meetings.
Council, any further discussion?
Just to summarize, the 38.79 is a 2 mil buffer over our current rate. And no detail, no plan to spend that.
Correct.
That's just a buffer in case something comes up during the budget process.
That's correct.
Can we pass a motion? Sure. Is that okay first?
That'd be great.
Okay.
I don't wanna.
I would then, if there's no more questions, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we take a 5-minute. Use the facilities.
Agree.
Yeah.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilmember Dwyer, second by Councilmember Moreland to take a 5-minute break. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're on 5-minute break. Turn time will be 8:13. think we're back to entertaining a motion for the revenue neutral rate resolution.
I move we adopt resolution 26-802 stating the intention to exceed the revenue neutral rate and setting a public hearing regarding the same for August 27th, 2026 at 7 p.m. and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Council President Hedstrom, second by Council Member Dwyer. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. It is a roll call. Council President Hedstrom.
Yay.
Council Member Baldridge. Yay. Council Member Moreland.
No.
Council Member Dwyer.
Yay.
Motion passes 3-1. Moving on to new business 9B, Casey's Development Agreement Amendment. City Administrator Gentry.
Mayor and Council, the item before you is a amendment to the developer's agreement for the Casey's location. Our engineering group, PEC, was not able to get the engineering plans to Casey's for the roadway design by June 30th as stated in the contract. The engineers of both organizations are working together. They don't need them immediately, and they agreed on the date of September, and it's in the agreement, September 15th, of 26 for those. So this amendment just solidifies that date change to the agreement.
Council, any questions or conversation?
I have 2 questions. On the original contract, it was a 14-day review period. Is there a reason why it changed to 21-day?
I think that was a request that they asked for an extra week to review those.
I just noticed, okay.
Yeah.
And then on the amendment, it goes from item 1 to item 3. Is there an item 2 missing, or is it just a miss? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if there was something that had been changed, it.
You know those auto numberings.
Okay, yeah, oh, I love auto numbering. So, okay, those are my only 2 questions.
Any additional questions or discussion, Council? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the amendments as presented and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Baldridge, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to 9C, note sale resolution. City Administrator Gensby.
Mayor and Council, the item before you reflects the note sale for temporary notes for the funding of the Upland Drive project and the 61st Street widening. The bond sale was this morning at 9 a.m. and these are the results of that bond sale. I'll let Andrew speak to the rest of it.
Absolutely. As Matt pointed out, and we've talked about this a couple of times, both at the May 28th meeting, we passed the authorizing ordinances, and June 25th meeting, we passed the public sale resolution setting this public sale. The sale was this morning to offer $980,000 for temporary notes to fund these 2 projects. The city received 3 bids, which are listed on the bid summary that was put together by Piper Sandler, the city's financial advisor at this issue. The lowest bid was from Oppenheimer & Co. Inc., which is the first one to the left, with a true interest cost of 3.949693, which is I'm not your financial advisor, but I see a lot of these. That's a good interest rate right now. So I know that Clayton was very happy with the results of the sale. We talked about it today. And so what you have in front of you there is the actual note resolution. I will warn you, of course, because the sale happened this morning, the copy in your packet doesn't have the interest rate or who the purchaser is and that kind of thing. In addition, because the rate ends up being a little bit lower and we got we're able to refine the numbers based on the sale, the principal amount went down to $970,000. So a little bit of good news there. And so we have the resolution. I mean, we have it completed now. where we've got 970 as the principal amount, we've got the interest rate inserted in all the final details. And so we have that resolution for you, and that's what you will be passing. And then if you move forward with that, I've got a stack of documents here for signature, and we'll plan on closing that on August 6th. The funds will go into a project fund as soon as the design is finished and the contractor's ready to go and scheduled. We'll get those projects finished. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I would say in this environment that is a pretty good interest rate.
The temp notes tend to be a little bit lower because they're so short term, but yeah.
Any other questions or conversation? I would entertain a motion.
Oh, and I'm sorry if I may point out, note in the agenda memo, there's two motions that we're looking for. One is to accept the low bid and the other is to approve the resolution.
Thank you for clarification.
Now, I meant to point
I move that we accept the low bid and authorize the mayor to execute and deliver the bid form.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Council President Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
I move we adopt resolution number 26801, establishing the terms and provisions governing the city's general obligation temporary notes, Series A, 2026.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to 9D, USDI gas system study results. Thomas, would you like to introduce our speaker for the evening, please?
Yes, so council, mayor, this is Tyler Lowy with USDI.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
Do
Oh,
what?
did I say it wrong?
I don't know what you said.
Anyway.
I was down here, so.
It's okay. Sorry, my apologies.
Trying to get the computer to work, so I figured I could go. I don't know, Matt, if your Microsoft is on here for your emails. I didn't know if you can get. I was trying to go through the model, put it on here.
I think I'll throw them on a jump drive while you're talking.
But they were the group who did the modeling for us, so you would wonder why I use a different engineering group. PEC does not do gas modeling or gas infrastructure. So, we use USDI. We use them as a contractor already currently in the city. So they also were an engineer who provided us the plans for going there and meet the railroad tracks. And the plans of which we're still waiting on. Information or from Union Pacific. So when they get back to us, so we decided to use them also for the gas modeling in this situation. If Matt gets back, I'll let him go. So this. Hi. He's come away. He's drove like 6.5 hours today. So.
Oh my goodness. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, and I'll kind of get started a little bit. I kind of explain stuff, and then we can kind of go through it a little bit more. But yeah, so we provided this gas system modeling. So kind of go through that just a little bit so you understand. It's just a network model, very similar. There's water ones, there's sewer models, things like that. Just hydraulic pressure models going through that. And how we do it is we build, taking that mapping from your system, we're able to plug that right in, confirm sizing, put loads in there based on what you guys have seen in recent years, and it kind of goes through the report a little bit of, we really focus on those bigger loads, the industrial stuff, see industrial parks, schools, things like that. And then when it comes to your residential load, that kind of gets a little bit dispersed just because winter load, it's acts a little different. It's not really at that high peak that you're gonna see. It kind of distributes just because there's, some people are on, some people are off. So it's kind of lower than what you normally see is, a normal peak load for a house would be 150 cubic feet an hour. We actually run it more in the 60 range because that kind of just floods it out and levels that off so that we get to where we see historical peak usage rates based on data you guys have given. So we build that all out, and actually one thing we were able to prove out was that we were within, I think, half a pound, half a PSI of what Thomas and them had actually seen in the system. So we got that pretty good and calibrated, and then kind of started from there. Man, they got so many questions.
Okay. I think that's a new computer is why. I think you guys replaced that, didn't we?
It's Adobe. They do it every time. It's horrible. So, okay. So just kind of giving a little bit of a generalized overview of all of this. So like we said, these are those larger loads that we saw in the system. And kind of give go through that. Why did we do this? Thomas came to us and wanted to look at what, how prepared is the natural gas system for the future. So, we wanted to look at it in, what do you got now? What do you got coming in the next couple of years? Do we need to look at really running something quick and figuring out if you have immediate problems? And then go into that 5-year, 10-year growth based on, a reasonable number of additional housing, some additional industrial loads, things like that. I guess a good point would be the possibility of a new school on the system. So we worked through that. We did, like I said, a 5-year and a 10-year. We based those, everybody's seen that growth in Park City and even around here in Bel Air of everything getting closer. So using about 300, I think what we did was 5 years was an additional 300 house subdivision in one area and then a 300 house subdivision in another, and kind of doing the same thing going to 10 and also adding some load into that industrial park where there really is an issue, or where a lot of that bigger load is happening. So just a lot of numbers, but what this really does is we kind of ran multiple iterations with different conditions, really to start with the existing conditions, kind of calibrate out what we're doing, what's been seen in the system. And then, like we said, going into, what we were really worried about is, are you gonna have a problem in this winter? And do we need to get something done quick? So we went through that, and, like the report talks about, you guys have already upped pressure in the system to allow for this load. So based on that, going into this year, no issues that are really, need immediate addressing. Just to kind of clarify this, because it gets a little, we ran multiple iterations with different pressures, just so you can see what, if you're starting at this pressure, what would we have lowest pressure wise. We kind of took every iteration set and jumped it up to just basically put it to the limit of the system so that we can just say, all right, where do we end here and how much can it take? So that kind of gives you a good idea of what's happening at each one. The two other ways we wanted to look at this was kind of limitations of the system. So we'll start there. Right now, the system is fed from an existing station that's been there since the beginning of the system. It is set with a certain capacity. It was probably pretty overbuilt, right, from the beginning. So they you are approaching quite quickly, if not already, to the capacity of that station. So, and one thing to note on that is it's when they list a capacity, it's not that it's not going to be able to give you any gas past that certain point. You're just going to start seeing limitations. So it's, you know, there is a little extra, so it's not, that's also not an immediate concern, but something that should definitely be looked at for the future. So there's that issue number one, and then part of the issue is where growth is happening in Kechi with the industrial park being on the other side of the railroad tracks that was never really developed as part of the original system with larger pipe, things like that. So after running through this and going through to, existing system and starting to raise loads, we looked at kind of two different ways of approaching the issues. And one of them being is, like I said, currently you have a 2-inch steel main that's going to cross those railroad tracks. So that's really the choke point. What needs to happen, or how would it benefit you to replace that with a 6-inch pipe or medium density pipe that would provide a lot more capacity, but really how far would that get you? And then there's the other option of what happens when you start exceeding what your capacity is now for that station. So we're going to look, we wanted to look at, okay, if we upgrade the existing station, what does that look and how much does that help for the future? And then the possibility of a new take point from your guys' supplier to then backfeed into the system. So you have, 2 feeds possibly, or even just one feed with much more capacity. So looking at that, we kind of, I guess to start with, like we talked about, your current system at this point with the load you're going to see over the next couple of years is, has the capacity to deliver gas with no issues, even at those peak times. Looking into 5 years, when we go to, let's say, upgrading the existing station, even adding 6-inch pipe across the railroad tracks, you start seeing a limitation at that 5-year period. So back to, oh gosh, get my numbers straight. So see, at this iteration is kind of what we're looking at, the 1.1.3. So getting into 5 years, even doing all of that work, you're getting to a point where you're seeing his pressures as low as 22 pounds. So obviously that's near what you guys used to operate at a few years ago. The issue is that with this model, it's kind of a steady state model where it brings everything to equilibrium as it states that we're putting it in there. There's always the possibility that you see exceeding loads in certain places at certain times. So you start getting into those lower pressures, you have the possibility of that happening. It kind of strains you, and then also limits what you can do on, year to year, adding, more customers onto the line. So that's kind of where we mark that out in red. Is it's not necessarily saying that's the point you're going to start seeing pressure issues to the point where people are out of gas, but there's that and like short-term future concerns. So at those points, and so kind of contradictory to that, if we go to the point of having a new Southern Star station on the other side of the railroad that comes and backfeeds into town, becomes another higher capacity feed to the system. At those points, sorry, I can't get numbers.
Can I interject real
Yeah.
quick? I just want to do a hearing check real quick. question. So if we're currently, utilizing a 2-inch pipe, is that what you said?
So yes, and it was original system was that, I guess you had a little bit of load on that side of the system from way back when. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think in like 2003, they added on a 6-inch line to kind of feed out west or out east of Woodlawn. And basically what they did was they put in a 2-inch poly line, ran it to the top of the hill, and then ran 6-inch out to the industrial area. So everything out east is 6-inch.
So that's the
But it's-
choke point that you're talking about.
Right, and it's
Just-
fed by
I got
2
you.
currently.
That's
Now I
the thing.
understand. Now I
So yeah, there's the railroad kind of runs.
Right.
Just judge on this map.
I get
There's just that short segment of that 2-inch.
I'm on board now.
It's quite amazing how much of a choke point that becomes, because there's some ways we ran that and we saw 20 pounds of drop just across that. So it makes a very large difference. So the thing is that just to kind of show the contrast these two. So those 1.3s, those are the ones that's 5-year projection with the new station. So, there's a couple different ways we did that, and, at those load levels, you see no issue. And that's kind of the same point of these 2.3s, that's upping you to, currently you're running around 35 to 40 MCF an hour is total system load. We're showing that, putting that station out there gets you to 1.5 times of what you're using currently and with no issues. So there's, it's kind of one thing I put in the summary of looking at that it's, looking at it from that direction, we can definitely, you guys could definitely upgrade current station, do a bunch of piping work, spend a lot of money on that, and it'll get you somewhere. It's just the question of how far and how long that's going to be. So, just depending on that growth and also where the growth happens is a big issue too. So, we try to kind of split it happening on each side of the railroad, just to kind of see what happens. And it's, if everything happens to be north of town, that makes a big difference as opposed to anything to the east, north, south, whichever direction. So that's kind of the thing of, I think, put a slight recommendation that if our recommendation would be to really look hard into that new station so you can have that capacity, be able to serve, for 20, 30, 40 years into the future more than just kind of more of a 5-year projection. So, any questions? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
And thank you for that clarification. It was the choke point that was getting me.
Yes. It is. It's that's kind of the big thing with it.
So you're recommending that we take out that 2-inch pipe and put in 6.
Okay, so,
Keep it consistent, is that?
and let me get, not necessarily. So, here, let me just, and maybe looking at the maps makes life a little easier, and it'd be nice if we get super detailed with the maps, but not so much. And this is kind of looking at existing systems. So if you kind of see where that cursor is, your current town border station's right around, that point down there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we said, there's the railroad. That's that line. So that's going across the railroad that, like Thomas talked about, there's, still some back and forth with the railroad about getting a new pipeline under there. So number one, there's kind of that choke point issue. With that, there's the possibility, to upgrade this station and I put a estimate together as well, just based off of what Thomas has given and then some estimates on running the pipe that's going to get you to these stations and kind of tie everything in. So one of the options of the going as far as we can is to install a new station there or upgrade that station, then run 6-inch pipe from there again at a slightly higher pressure all the way out to the east side of town, so that you're basically back looping at that point, because that's where the issue seems to be. Issue with that is already trying to get across the railroad. Issues with that, you're gonna have to cross it at a different point. So then there's the kind of that secondary option where you tie on down here to that Southern Star, that line continues going slightly north but mainly east-west. So there is the possibility of getting another site where that can be tied in and building a new station, much higher capacity, and based on that estimate and what Thomas has been given, there's about a $300,000 difference in building a new one is to upgrading. So, which is, the $1.5 million for a new station is pretty normal. So that's kind of the point of there's that factor, and then there's, okay, well then what do I have to do to get that there? And from what I had in our estimate, it'd be about a $500,000 project to get gas from that new station up to your existing system in this industrial park area. And then if you wanted to go through the whole process of back looping the system from an upgraded, you're still looking at $350,000 or so or more, depending on when this happens. And at that point, there's still $500,000 is a lot of money, but if you're looking at it strictly from a pressure aspect, you're getting a lot more bang for your buck now, as opposed to, what we've seen. Southern, I know we had a Southern Star station put in, when I started 15 years ago, it was about $500,000. So, when it comes to cost of how much those stations are, how much that pipe, installation costs have gone up in the last 5 years, that's kind of the other point of, you're getting a lot more for that than what you see on that other end. So we did run iterations where all we did was just jump that across, and it helps to an extent, is kind of what we found out. And it's not even to the 5-year, the 5-year projected growth. So.
So the first one that you said to upgrade the current and then the 6-inch line at the railroad track, knowing that what we're facing with that right now.
Yeah.
How much did you said there was a $300,000 difference?
So what we had, and what Thomas was given, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but the upgraded existing station was about $1.25 million. And then what they gave him was 1.55 for the new station.
Okay. That one, the $500,000 was just the piping
And
from
then
the new
there's
station to
the project, and part of that being is, and I went in a little detail with the estimate that with that new station, you can get higher pressure. We would put a high density polyethylene line instead of medium density that can run at a higher pressure, then build rig stations off that, build new ways to feed the system off of it. More for projected growth, because the thing is, you can install the HDPE, run it at over 100 pounds, or you can run it at 60, you can run it at whatever you want. Medium density, you're capped at the 60-something pounds, so it really makes a big difference there. So that's part of the difference in cost, with that being a little higher.
I just want to clarify, make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So for Kechi east of the railroad tracks in the industrial park, if we don't take action, we have significant limitations that will hit us.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I guess the other question, and maybe it's for Thomas, maybe it's for you, I don't know. So what is our service area? If we begin to expand, say we put in the new station, what is our service area of where we can grow to and serve?
So currently, KCC allows you to go 3 miles outside of your city borders as your growth pattern. They're currently fighting that out in the KCC right now. We set up maps this past week while I was gone. Matt was gracious enough to fill those out and send those into KMGA for me last week while I was off. So Black Hills and Kansas Gas Service are fighting off over coverage area, and they're like, well, hey, you guys forgot about the municipalities. Well, Kechi, we're one of the closest cities to these bigger companies. So what that would allow us to do is cover that 3 miles, as we continue to grow, because our boundaries are obviously going to move. At least we hope, or don't hope, I don't know, depending on who you are. But it allows us to, like you've seen on there, Meter Engineering was one of our biggest users of gas, to provide that for them too, plus whatever residential we have out there. Because not only are we getting choked by the 2-inch line, also all those industrial users get to use that gas before it even gets to Rock Point.
Right.
So the more we put in there, the more we're choking it down, because they're obviously going to use more.
Right.
But it also provides us with a secondary loop. So like just with our water, if something happens, we have a backup at Hillside. We have a backup connection to Park City if we need. This provides us, if something happens to the current line, we can feed off the back. By upgrading the 6-inch line, the reason why we were looking at doing that is because we can backfeed through town. And if we can cover that area, theoretically, we should be able to cover this part of town with the HDPE coming back if something was to happen to that line. Because that was put in 1957. So it's getting up there in age, the same way we've seen with the Wichita School.
Right.
Infrastructure does need to be replaced from time to time. I wish I could bond it out, but I don't know. It helps us get out there to those areas. Will help loop back into this area for this part of town for growth too. So I think you're less likely to have to worry about northeast, which way do you want to go, and have to make that decision.
Right.
You can go wherever you want, and then we would loop that system back into the current system, whether it's on 69th, 77th, 85th, 93rd, 101st, as we move out. Like you said, that regulator station, my thought would be off a new connection. Regulator station, you still run 100 pounds to your businesses, cut it down, feed back into 60 into town. Right. Just having that secondary loop and being able to force that through and not worry about that bottleneck. So
if I'm hearing you correctly, that means if our current eastern border is Rock, that means we can at least go out to Greenwich with gas service. Is that correct?
You'd probably be able to go all the way out to the Butler County line.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're getting a big enough picture of the opportunity. Yeah. Well as all the way up to 100.
So I don't know exactly the numbers if they're in there. Tyler and them did it. So like the 2-inch line, we're only able to provide like 130 MCFs per hour at max. So when they're using them out there, that's why we're seeing that pressure drop from 45 to got down to 11 pounds last winter. Theoretically, we were only allowed to have 785 units a day that goes through there. We hit over 900 last winter. So we put a lot of stress on that line, on that initial feed. But even running a 6-inch line underneath there, we were able to get up to like 600 MCFs an hour through there. So by pushing a bigger line back through, I don't know what the total capacity would be, but it's up there.
How old is the regulator station currently?
It was replayed. So the regulator station was moved in about 1980 to where it is currently, but I think all the components are still the same. So the regulators we replaced them last year, opened the orifice so we could provide more pressure out of town. Those were about 8,000 a piece for those regulators alone, and they were put in like 1957 or something like that. They were the originals. So.
Okay. I know we've talked before about the federal grant opportunities. Do we still is that still an open window to apply for a federal grant to
I'm not
assist?
sure if that's a little.
So, yeah, and that's one of the issues with that federal ones. It's an issue for you guys.
Okay.
Because you actually have a really good system.
Okay.
So it's really a lot more for, they have a caveat for getting like technology and things like that
Okay.
to kind of update your system, but it's really for cast iron pipe, old pipe
Okay.
that's listed as, an issue by NTSB or by the DOT. So nobody's had really good luck at trying to get that for upgrading steel or anything
Okay.
like that. So, yeah,
Okay.
So basically, I think what he's saying is my private citizens are too good at their job.
that's exactly right.
So,
So will you have an estimate sheet to distribute to the governing body that we can see like what the costs and options are for discussion?
I don't know if you have that on there or not.
It's not in the packet, that's why I asked.
Yeah, you sent that to me separate, so.
I was gonna say,
And I can't pull up I don't know if I sent those to you or not.
Yeah, we have that.
Great, that would be wonderful, like we sent out, yeah.
That's why I was trying to get into my deal so I could just pop it open and show you, but.
I have one really odd question.
Okay.
Being a math person, why is a month 24 days and an hour 16 hours?
So the problem is you don't meter hourly or daily or weekly, you meter per month. So to try to put it to the actual peak time, we cut it by 24 days, then 16 hours. So that if we divide it by 30, then 24, it's gonna be a lot lower than what that peak actually is. So it gets confusing.
Well, no, I figured there was a good rationale and that it wasn't just you guys going, hey, let's see if they notice how many days are and how many hours in the day. But I appreciate that.
All right.
Any questions, any more discussion? Thank you very much
Thank
for
you so
presenting to us.
Thank you.
Council, I would request a motion to receive and file.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we receive and file USDI's natural gas model report.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Moreland, second by Councilmember Dwyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, moving on to 9E, Park Board bylaw discussion.
Mayor and Council, Chris is passing out the proposed bylaws for the park board. These have been developed through discussions, recommendations from park board members over about the last year. Since reenacting the park board, we knew that there needed to be changes to the bylaws to operate as the city operates, through the hierarchy that we operate in the city now. So those changes have been reflected in there. The issue we have currently with the park board is there's an even number of people on the park board who have a vacancy on the park board. So historically, there's split votes on the park board. It's either a 2-2 or a 3-3, and we're not able to move anything forward. Our city code provides that the city council can make amendments to these bylaws for the park board. What I'm asking the city council to do is receive this meeting, review them, and we have them back on the agenda for the next meeting for council consideration. Because we really need to change these bylaws to move the park board forward, so we eliminate that stalemate on the park board.
So I do have a question. At the meeting on Monday, there were 4 members there at the meeting, and somebody made a motion, but nobody seconded it. So it didn't go to a motion. There was no
It
tie.
didn't go anywhere, yeah.
Okay. So, okay. Okay.
Council, any discussion?
I, I'm not sure what my question is. So what are the fundamentally the biggest changes that are being addressed?
One of the biggest changes is the staff members who are required to report to the park board meetings, specifically the public works director. Thomas and I have had discussions. There really is no need for a public works director to be at a park board meeting unless there is information relative to the discussion on the park board. So the way the city operates now, all staff members are directed through the city administrator. We have a liaison, Paul, who comes to the park boards. Tries to be at all the meetings. If he's not there, I'm there. So we always have a representative from the city to bring forth that information to the park board.
So based on some of the meetings that I've listened to, I think in this last Monday meeting as well, some of the discussion was how is that information requested of Thomas getting back to the park board, because I felt like from what several of the members had said was they didn't feel that that information that was being asked of him with his expertise was being relayed. So if he was there, would he be able to relay that information? Because in the past, that was one of his roles, was he was very knowledgeable with what happened at the park. He's very knowledgeable with many of those aspects, and that was why it was originally lined out that he would be the designated staff member for that.
Yeah, information is relayed through me to him. Thomas and I meet and talk about park board projects and issues on a regular basis. We talk about them at our staff meetings every Tuesday morning. So that information would come directly from me if there's a need or request from the park board that Thomas or any other employee of the city or industry expert be at the meetings, that we can coordinate that.
And I guess with only one member of the park board here tonight, to respond to that, I'm not gonna ask now, I mean, how were these changes directed by the park board feeling there was a need to be changed, or were these directed otherwise?
It's a combination of both.
Any other questions?
Anything else, Council?
Review and come back next.
Yeah, review, and my request would be that we have this back on the agenda for the next council meeting.
Well, the park board won't meet before the next council meeting though, so we're not gonna put this back for them when they have a full slate. Because I know they had.
My request is that it come through council by city ordinance, says that the council can approve changes to those bylaws.
Okay, moving on to 10, council reports, discussion, requests. Are there any requests or discussion this evening?
I have a follow-up from a request I made in May where I had asked, and I know that Mr. Jensby, you were not here at that meeting, but I had requested information on the core requests because we had seen based on a Facebook post that prior to May, we had not been charging for core requests, even though there is a line for that in the fee resolution. And I was just curious as to how much we felt the loss of income was on the core requests received that weren't charged.
Well, we continue to have more and more core requests laid upon the city. And it is taking a copious amount of staff time to fulfill those. So we need to recover our costs for the time spent on that.
Oh, no, that's not my question. My
What's
question
your
is,
question?
why weren't we charging that?
I went back and looked, I can't find any.
Okay, that was,
I don't think we ever were. We were
okay, that was,
we had always operated on the basis of trying to provide people the information as we could, but when they're just huge requests made that take hours and hours to
and they should be being
to
charged
compile, they should
by,
be-
based on the
charged for.
hourly. Because I know that in the past, we had said this was the estimated value of our time for that. But in May, beginning of May, there was a Facebook post that the city will now start to charge for those. And it was reported that we had not been charging for those. And that was my question.
I don't think we had very many before.
Okay.
And like I
Well-
said, I went back and tried to find financials on it, and I don't see where there's been a core request in financials charged since I started.
Okay, I will testify that that is not
And
correct.
that's, I
because
said, I might be,
I have
looked under
charged this woman
reimbursements,
next to
I
me.
looked under
I've been charged
core.
before now.
I have charged several people,
Yeah, I've looked everywhere.
so we don't know where it's being coded then. Okay,
I just took one in and I put it under miscellaneous, and I put on the subject line what it was.
because I thought there was, and that was what I had asked was, is there a line item that goes for those so that we could,
I can't find it.
okay. So we don't, and
I'll
that's
keep
just,
looking.
and you don't, but when you code them, you just code them to miscellaneous.
I am now.
Okay. Because I thought there was a records request line.
There's a police records request on
Not
it that I
general.
can't find,
Okay.
just a general.
And my next question is going to be more towards Andrew. I'm trying to find my notes. Okay. So at the, and I know you were not here for our workshop last week.
Okay.
And I just had a question because Mr. Lasher had presented some of our duties and responsibilities, and he presented the roles and responsibilities of the mayor. And under KSA 12-10A07, one of the, and it says that the mayor shall appoint the head of all departments subject to confirmation by the city council, and such department heads shall serve at the pleasure of and report directly to the mayor.
So that statute doesn't apply to cities of the third class.
Okay,
The
that
third
was what
class
my
would be under
question.
chapter 15.
Okay, so that was what I thought, that was a contradiction to what we had, and I knew that there's ways that we do charter ordinances and things like that,
Right.
but when he presented that, I thought that is not something that we had seen before, so I just was curious as to how that worked.
Doesn't apply to our class of
Okay.
city. And I do think that
Okay.
the city of Kechi, I'd have to go look it up to be certain, but I know that there are even some of those chapter 15 sections that have been chartered out from over the
Yes, well,
over the years
and-
as we've, as things have been changed. And
well,
so,
and I did, and I knew that we had referenced that in several prior,
right,
but then, like I said, when these were the 12 dashes,
yeah.
I was, and the way that it was presented to us, I had,
Fair question. If he said that
So-
to you, it's a fair question.
okay, thank you.
Clarification.
I just was like, because we have, obviously we don't follow that, so, and we haven't for quite some time, so. That's just my question.
I just have a request that the current park board bylaws indicate that if there is a vacancy, that the city shall publish the vacancy. And if that could be done, if you need me to send specific information so it can get published out, let me know and I can take care of that with you.
We will put it on our city website and Facebook.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that. Any other discussions or requests, council?
I have a request that we try to make an effort to keep council meetings to 2 hours maximum. I just think, I have kids at home, I've got a job, a full-time job, and we're spending a lot of time on things that could have been taken care of prior to the meeting. That's just me. If I'm alone, then I'll shut up, but we're now over 2 hours. Just throwing it out there.
I think if that's,
Possible to do something limiting that.
I think if that's the will of the council, we could probably have Andrew draft an ordinance, limiting the time, of the meetings. I don't know the legalities behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's legal. There's a lot of considerations that go into that, right? I mean, it's possible. I think we just want to think through all of the effects of it before we do that. But I mean, it is something that can be done. You know, it can be done to say it'll be 2 hours unless extended by majority vote of the council if you have more business you want to take care of. I mean, that's legal. I just want you to give long policy consideration to that before you do something like
Sure, I understand. And I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah,
there.
no,
It's just 5 a.m. comes early.
that. Yeah.
You know,
We can have Andrew draft a draft
Certainly
policy.
can,
for
and we can have
people to
discussions.
discuss it.
Well, in honor of that, I will skip the mayoral report tonight and we will move into executive session.
Madam Mayor, I move we go into executive session per state statute 754319B1. Subject to be discussed during the executive session is non-elected personnel. The justification for closing the meeting is discussion related to non-elected personnel matters, and the time and place in which the open meeting shall resume is 9:25 in the city council chamber.
Second. Motion by Council President Hestron, second by Council Member Baldridge. All in favor? Motion passes 4-0.
shut down. We're good.
As we return to the regular meeting, I want to remind everyone that pursuant to Kansas open meeting statutes, no binding action was taken by the city council while in executive session. Before we move to adjournment, I guess a question I have is Melon referenced a workshop. So I'm not quite sure what.
Yeah, we'll get that set up and provide the date to council. We'll have to go through
So that's a special meeting.
requesting a special.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Dwyer, second by Council President Hedstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a nice evening.